not. I'm not
Architect Manohar, his video is not on.
I think Modi, I think you can call him on phone and then talk to him, no? Yuvraj.
I think, yeah.
Senthil,
Right, leave it, Manohar. Leave like this only.
Yeah. Senthil, I think now it is okay. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, you please go in here.
I'll go here.
Yeah.
It's okay now.
Good. We can go there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manohar, something
Yuvraj?
wrong with your camera angle. I don't know. I think will let us go ahead and then you can change the angle. You keep the turn around the camera, no? Can turn around the mobile phone. I think you're using mobile phone, right? Manohar.
Yes, sir. That's the
Just
problem.
turn it.
So can I?
Actually, we
No,
have
turn it and
started
keep-
going.
Okay.
I think we have
Okay,
started
leave it.
going in
I think
the
some
air.
setting which has been there. I'm not able to do that.
Right, this is perfect. Leave it.
It's okay. Perfect. Leave it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We,
That's what.
we have the participants joining us basically.
Okay.
So we are good to go. We'll start the session.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all for our IAI webinar series. We have a set of interesting practicing architects who have been there for quite a lot of time and in the practice, and we are looking at for an interesting session to be started. So I request architect Loganathan, who's Joint Secretary of IAI Tamil Nadu chapter, to give the welcome address.
Vanakkam. Good evening, all.
Vanakkam.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening. Nice to hear from
On
you.
behalf of Indian Institute of Architects Tamil Nadu chapter, I welcome all the participants to this webinar. We have titled this webinar as How to Build a Successful Practice. You see, we all architects, we are very good storytellers, but how do we fare in our business? How do we do business like other consultants? Actually, I mean business means business. So here we do service. Everybody, all the other consultants also do service, but how architects, we actually do it. So how successfully we are doing it. So what we thought, there's a big generation, younger generation that is actually following us. And we have a lot of people, following us. And there's a big community to which we are serving. So certainly we thought we have to have our people know about how to do a successful business. So we felt we will have a kind of a chit-chat session with some of our architects and who actually consented gracefully to give some valuable time and just go about finding out the ways of doing a successful architectural practice. Okay, in this session, we have 5 of our architects. First, I will go with the ladies first. We are go with the architect, Dr. Architect Ponni. She is a founder and principal architect of Oscar and Ponni Architects, Chennai. She completed her BR from NIT Trichy and MR from Cornell University and did advanced professional studies from Harvard. She got honorary doctorate from Malaysia and also University of Milano. She had worked with renowned architect firm in New York City, Edward Larrabee Barnes, on various skyscrapers, campuses, and so on. From 1996, she joined her husband, architect Oscar, and has been designing various categories of buildings, including 131 international national award-winning projects. Her works are widely published. She also has got a distinguished alumnus of NIT award, which is a very prestigious one. And also, she has bagged the Women Icon of Asia award very recently. She regularly raises funds for leprosy eradication through exhibition of her own paintings. We welcome Architect Ponni to this program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, wonderful, madam. You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And next we have Architect Cheralathan. Very, very, very well known, very popular, very yeah, very well-known name in our fraternity, in the society, everywhere. He is a senior architect and partner of Cherla & Associates with 24 years of experience in architecture and landscape. Cherla is a gold medalist in both School of Architecture and Planning, where he did his BR, and also in the School of Planning and Architecture in New Delhi, where he did his landscape architecture. He has been awarded a best commercial building twice. And some of the projects he has done are Mayajal, Anpas Skywalk, Marina Mall, and India Land, and so on. Then we have architect Aravindan from Coimbatore. He has completed his BR from SAP, Anna University, and Masters in Conservation from SPA, New Delhi. He started his practice in 1999 in Coimbatore. He's been carrying out varied categories of buildings. He's the immediate past chairman of IIA Coimbatore. We welcome architect Aravindan to this program. And we have architect Manogaran from Tanjavur. He has graduated from Indian Institute of Architects, and he has got his MR from the PMIST. He is a doctorate from Tamil University, and he's also pursuing his advanced postdoctoral research in environmental psychology and memory association. And he's a consultant for various government organizations, education institutions, financial institutions, and many societies and nationalized banks. He is the founder, chairman of Indian Institute of Architects, Tanjavur Subcenter. And last but not least, and of course, one of the best, our architect K. Sindil Kumar. In fact, he doesn't need any introduction, still as a formality. He graduated from School of Architecture and Planning, Anna University, and did his master's in landscape architecture from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He is into practice for more than 28 years. He holds many awards for his credit, and he is currently chairman of Indian Institute of Architects Tamil Nadu chapter. And incidentally, myself and Sandip Kumar, we are classmates from school. So very proud to bring Sandip Kumar to this
Great thing.
platform. Welcome, architect Sandip Kumar.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
So yeah, wonderful. Actually, a formal welcoming of the panelists, everything is over. So now let us go into. Yes.
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
Thank you. Yeah. Relaxed, club chit-chatting kind of a mode, so that we just try to observe things, not on a very serious note like any other formal webinar, formal presentation. So let us just sit back, relax, and enjoy what we are chatting. First of all, let me just to set the note, I will go ahead and ask every panelist, just as an introduction from their side, a simple question like, how did you start your practice? When do you think you got established? And what was your first project? I'll start from architect Ponni Madam first.
Good evening to you all. First of all, at the outset, I want to thank IIA for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be among such august speakers yourselves. Oscar and Ponni Architects is roughly about 25 years in Chennai. And we have 3 design verticals that we offer services to. One is urban design, the other is architecture, and the third is interior design. If you look at the history of Oscar and Ponni Architects, both Oscar and I have graduated from American universities, like Sir has mentioned before. And we also worked there with Edward Barnes John Lee, and Oscar also worked with Emery Roth and Sons, the pioneer of skyscraper building in New York City. So we got a very New York sort of exposure, and we learned a lot from those experiences. And a lot of these American experiences is part of our design and business philosophy that we follow in Oscar and Ponni Architects. We have learned one thing out of our New York experience is that we compete for every project. 90% of our project is won by design competitions that's floated by the different entities in India, government, non-governmental agencies, and what have you. And those are extremely large projects. We've been lucky by the grace of God to work in this fine country. And I would say only 10% of our projects actually come by references, and it's so much more easier to do those kind of projects. So we have a lot of projects in campus planning, in townships, hospitality, hospitals, designing huge entities and complexes. And what we have actually experienced is that by participating in design competitions, we actually kind of benchmark our work higher and higher every year. And if you take our first project, we met an NRI businessman in New York City 25 years ago, and he had this project called it was an engineering campus, 200 acres, and he floated a global competition. So he got a lot of entries from America, from the US, and from India, and I think even in the Middle East. We also competed for us, and much to our happiness, he selected us. And when we asked him why we selected, he said, "You guys gave me 10 options. All other architects gave me just one option. So A, you are hungry for the job. B, you are thinking 360 degrees. So we were very fortunate. He said, come on to India. And we left the US, came to India, set up shop in Chennai. And in this project, this 200-acre campus project, we learned a lot of issues that are related to building construction in India. Local labor, local materials, and how you deal with Indian business. Indian business is very different from what you find in New York or in the Western world. So God's grace, again, this project came out so well. We use this as a marketing tool to get more projects. And like I said, again, it is just a matter of entering design competitions. And you won't believe it. Right now, we're doing a massive
what was that first project, madam? What is that project?
That's the one I'm saying. It's an engineering campus. It's 200-acre campus.
Okay, engineering
200-acre campus. See, that was our first project, and that became a marketing tool for us. So we've done more than 100 to 150 campuses all over the country. We've built campuses from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and that's
so your first project itself is a huge project.
Yeah, it was a very large project because our expertise in New York, the kind of projects we did in New York. My first project, by the way, was a 50-story tower, 50-story tower in New York City, the IBM Tower. And can you imagine a student from India,
I think your US experience, I'm going to ask you next.
Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. But
I think I'll come to that later. Actually, I'll just finish off with others with their first project and how they established. I have very interesting questions for you through what you are coming to say. So I just maybe a small pause there. Can I ask Architect Aravindan, what's your first project and when did you think you got established?
After my master's in 97. I started my practice in 99 in Coimbatore. And my practice, I started off with a small residence, humble residence in my native place called Mumbai. And I don't know, it took around 5 years to establish myself.
Sir, it is
financially, yeah.
Okay.
It's the time which it takes to establish.
Okay. So you started in 1999, but around 5 years you felt that you got established.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So that is in Coimbatore. In a place like Coimbatore, it takes that time. Okay. Let's hear from Chairladhan. When did you start your practice and when do you think you got established? And which was your first project? No, you have to unmute your mic, Chairladhan, please.
Yeah, is it okay now?
Yeah,
good evening to everyone.
good evening.
There's a very interesting talk going on. So nice to hear and see a lot of my old friends and going to see a few more too. So I've finished my master's in 95. Then I supposed to join one landscape firm in Chennai. Then I went to collect my gold medal in Delhi. That time I met my professor, Professor Mohammad Shagir. So a lot of interesting stories, architect Senthil to share on that, of course, with Loganathan also. So Professor Shagid told, don't join that firm. I don't know why he told that. Then I came back, I had an opportunity to design one resort. And in 95, September 15th, I started my firm called ABC Design House. And my first project is Hill Country Holidays in Kodaikanal. That was a beautiful resort, probably one of good resort or fine resort in Kodaikanal. And then along with that, the Ooty project also we started. So that was our initial project, and that went on for almost 1.5 to 2 years. During that time, I started with MGM Disney World and MGM Resort, second stage and phase to phases. So that was my kickstart in my practice. 97 itself, we started having huge projects. Then 97 end, we got Mayajal.
Okay, so your Mayajal or that one was the point where you think you got established.
Yeah, Mayajal was a turning point where it was almost within 11.5 months, the project got over. So from start to finish, the project is completed within the shortest span. We have really learned the process involved in establishing a practice as well as working with the team and seeing the final product within short time. So from there, we went on building our career.
Okay, that's great. I think I will check with the architect Manohar. So when did you start your practice, and then when you think you got established, and what was your first project? Architect Manohar, please unmute your mic. Architect Manohar?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can you hear? Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes. Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi.
I'm not able to hear you clearly. Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Good evening to all. Thank you, IAA State Chapter, for giving me this opportunity to be part of August panelists. Thank you. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Hello?
Yeah, Architect Manohar,
Hello?
you can go ahead with it. No issues, sir.
Sir, audio is not clear, sir. On my side, it is.
The audio is audible.
Oh,
only
okay.
The video is
But you are when you, yeah, audio is
Yes,
clear,
please
na?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So my first project, you'll be surprised to know about my first project because I got settled in Tanjavur. Can you hear me?
I think there's a problem with the Manohar. We will come back to Manohar in a short while. We will ask the same thing to Architect Senthil Kumar. Can you?
Can I?
We will just come back to you, Manohar, maybe in a moment.
Yeah. My first project, it will be very interesting if I say this. My first project is a thatched house, mud walled thatched house. Actually, after doing my graduation, I was there in Tanjore and I saw what you'll be knowing what the people. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah, good to go.
Oh, okay, sure. Hello?
Yeah. You're good to go. You can continue. Please continue.
Okay. Now it's okay, na? Okay, nice, sir. So my first project was my first project is a small thatched house in Tanjavur. It was very near to my home, which I stay in, which we were staying there in 2001, beginning of 2001. It was a house for a laborer. He was what we call stone cutting laborer. He was doing his mud walled thatched house with making this soil and all. What you call? They used to call in Tamil pulika vekkira. They used to call that. They want to make it this soil. They make it soar and then they'll build. They try to build it. So I try to help them in that building, and it was something like vernacular type. And I asked them to put their own hands on the putting their hands in the lime and then keeping it as a painting or as a mural with their own hand. That is the first building I did. When I was doing that, I was many people came to see that, and I was socially what you call attracted towards many social organizations in this region. So my first project, through those social organizations only, my first project came, because I'm totally new to Tanjore, because I belong to Trivandrum. My father's job was there in Tanjore, so I got settled here in Tanjore. So I did not have any relatives to give job and all. So my first job was through social organizations. And then the first building I have shown in this college, that on exposed brickwork. In that building, what I tried is uh, unless like conventional trap bond, we tried for a cavity wall till the sill level. I
I
Hello,
think I think
like that.
we will go into technical details of that. But
Okay.
then I just wanted
Okay.
to know
Okay,
when
that
you
was
felt,
my first
no,
building.
no
Yeah.
problem. When you felt you got established.
Yeah. I thought. I think that I think that that first building itself I got
Okay,
established.
great,
I felt
great.
that because
That's a
I had
wonderful
that
thing. So until
thing.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yes.
get
Yes.
something, some varied kind of a thing. Like from ask Punni madam, we got her first project was that's a best thing that that became a marketing tool. And for Aravindan, the first project was a residence, and that is very close to his this thing. And then he thinks in 5 years of his practice he got established. Chairladan feels that his first project itself, the resort. And after that, he moved on to when he just moved on, and there are those Mayajal and other things that become the turning point in this. Let us now hear from architect Senthil Kumar. When did you start your practice, architect Senthil Kumar, and when do you think you got established, and what was your first project?
Yeah, it's thank you, Architect Loganathan, for this excellent question. I think.
No, not able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now, yes.
Yeah, I started my practice during 1992 in Chennai, and I think the question what you ask is what is your first project?
Yes.
That has to be framed in 3 different ways. One is what is your first product? What is your first project? Second is what is your first project which got built? Third is what is your first project which got built, and also where you got the whole fees. So,
yes.
So I think the question itself is very tricky.
Yes.
So it's very difficult when you start your practice. In fact, most of the projects were given free of cost because they were to my auditor, to my mother's auditor, to my father's auditor, to my relatives, to it was all coming free of cost only. But then since I had a qualification in landscape, I did a lot of works for Professor Mohammed Harris, and then Altaf sir, and many other eminent architects those times. So those are fetching me a lot of money plus also works also. So I would like to really forget about my first project because I made money only in the 50th or 60th project. Thank you.
So okay, your first project is something just you want to keep in your Vedalo Oblagata, and then keep the 15th project which fetched you very good money as important thing. Okay, I think that's where you got established. Okay, now there is a spectrum we are able to see. Let us just now having set up starting how you do and where you get established kind of thing. We'll start to listen to wonderful stories now. Architect Punni madam, you are an American return. Okay, and please tell us how an American education and work experience and your global travel influenced your practice. I think there's a lot of takeaway from this particular answer.
Yeah, well, as you know, I was a graduate of NIT Trichy, and I was the first lady student of NIT Trichy. Just for you all to know, I was one girl among 2,000 boys. So that itself was a very tough challenge that I faced. And then I moved to the US. I was very particular about being an Ivy League graduate. So I made sure I joined an Ivy League university. I went to Cornell and Harvard universities. And that's where I learned this essence of, how much research is so critical in putting up projects. How you do, you interface with different cultures, because 25, 30 years ago, things were a lot different. So my American education gave me a sort of a, snapshot of how the world itself operates. And then from there on, I went to work at Edward Barnes John Lee Architects. And as you know, Edward Barnes was a proponent of the international style of architecture. He was the protege of Marcel Breuer. So I was very lucky there. I worked one-on-one with him. And in New York City, in Edward Barnes' office, I learned three things. One is that, how to handle large projects, extremely large projects. How do you put contractor teams together? How do you put global consultants together? Number two is that how do you handle global business? Because global business is very different from what you can see in your particular country. So global business is the other thing I learned. And then the third thing I learned was gender equality. American women believe in equitable partnerships. They actually demand it. It's not exactly the utopian model, but it is something that I saw for myself, the business of equitable partnerships. And therefore, for me, this removed my fear of and socially conditioned issue of being a woman per se. And that's where I got a lot of confidence. So these are the factors that helped us when we moved into India. When we moved into India, we never worried about the scale of the project. You won't believe it. Right now, I'm doing a large project, but I'm also doing 1,000 square feet interior. So I love to switch gears. And this business of switching gears is what the American environment actually teaches you. So this is something I learned from and of course, my global travels helped me to understand world architecture. So today, I have a global practice. I have an international practice. And for me, this global travel, having seen different heritage sites, different styles of architecture, has really, educated me on what clients are looking for. These are my takeaways.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Nicely said, actually. So there's a lot of research involved, and there's a lot of positive side to the challenges that comes up. And fine, madam. Okay, I will ask this for Chera. Okay, Chera, then. You are well known as a mall architect. Okay. So how did this kind of a stature come to you? You said you designed resort, so many things, but then how does this kind of a stature come to you? That is one thing. Then another thing I want to ask you is, okay, I think we will care for this first, and then next question I will follow.
Yeah, probably the type of the building, like Mayajal, is first of its kind in India. Probably that was first multiplex in the country. And,
at that time, okay.
At that time, yes.
Yeah.
And it was a first of its kind in terms of family entertainment center. Probably if you look at all over globe, it was maturing, and we are getting always in India, we have the finest product entering, like in mall also. So when we happen to have the opportunity to design multiplex along with food court, fun center, and some retail, all these facilities, next level of that is a perfect mall. So FEC is different and mall is different. So when we started designing and exploring mall, I did a lot of research on that. There are a lot of typology, and to suit our the local scenario, like Madam told, Indian scenario compared to all Western and all European, US and everything, we have the human which is using that, all our public utility values. So we have formulated one format to suit Chennai or metro cities. It's a vertical mall. So when we started designing that, it became successful. And after that, once the word of mouth, so one product is there, next another product, then we started exploring. I don't know whether we call ourselves a mall specialist. Like Madam told, we've been designing on toilet also. Today morning, I just went to one toilet interior where they messed up with the COVID time. So we have to remove. There's a problem in there's no plumbing line left, and then the flooring fellow finished and polishing and everything. Finally, when we see there is no pipeline given for health faucet. So it is a varying opportunity to start with a small product. We end up doing a lot of big malls now, and I am not really specialized in mall. we have been doing a lot of IT building and office structures, apartments, individual houses also. Probably because of my team support, we have been doing. I don't know whether I answered your question.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course, you do varied types of buildings, we know.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see how that structure came in, and we just got the answer. Okay.
Because designing mall is not easy, because it is by
No,
nature it's a complex.
the point is how were you really identified to do the first that fund center? That is what the crux. So
Yeah. So
that
there is a competition. In
Okay.
fact, one of big firm was designing that. Then that particular client was explaining certain things that consultant, very senior people could not able to give that comprehensive package. When I was designing their office interior, I was part of their team when they've been discussing. Then I told, I'll give a concept. I think one night around 2:30 or 3, I gave that concept of dome and 6 screen, because he was trying to say 6 screen with the 150 seat capacity. People could not realize 150 seat capacity is such a size. I gave the entire thing within the shortest time, like Madam told, no, like within an opportunity of one day, I gave the opportunity. Then person visualized, this is what I want. That time probably I was 24, 25, something like that. So
Okay.
then we started.
Okay. I think this sounds, like Madam initially she said no for a competition. Actually, the first thing was through a competition. She gave 10 alternatives. Like nobody was able to say. And architect Chairladan, he got just a simple opportunity somewhere, and then situation somewhere, and then he made that situation to a nice opportunity, and that actually grew like a big thing. I think this is a very wonderful takeaway from these two people. I want to ask the same thing to maybe one of our other panelists, where you made a situation as an opportunity. Can I hear something from architect Manoharan, please?
Yes,
you have to unmute architect Manoharan.
Yeah. Okay. Is it audible now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please go on.
I have unmuted. Is it audible?
Yeah, please
Okay.
go ahead. Actually, I think
Sir,
your video
actually, when I okay. So the thing is that, as I told earlier, that initial building was a mud house. From that society, because Tanjore is a two-tier town, something I can call it. So you are looked at as an architect who can come to the society and you can work. So from there, my opportunity started, and my first building was given by one Rotary. I joined in the Rotary at that time, and I made a lot of friends with them. And first project which I have given in this collage is that first project, which was given by a Rotarian. So we started like that only. And then in that, I went to Trivandrum. At the time, Laurie Baker was there, and we were. I went and saw his all works, and had a good idea about what cost effective. Initially it was called as low cost, and now later they started calling it as cost effective. So I came here. When I came here, I thought, why should we copy the same thing? Why can't we have a separate one? We did a small work with the carpenter. We tried a small model with the carpenter and the mason. I had a very good mason at that time in 2001. So we made a cavity wall without a rat trap. Header and stretcher will not be there. If you see this building, it will not have a stretch header. It will have a stretcher in the outer, and it will have another stretcher inside, and there will be a what we call hollow space in between. And then at sill level we gave a small sill beam, like I think with a small weld mesh and all, and wherever we wanted to have that electric connection, we gave the ports and all. So it started like this. So slowly I thought, when the load is vertically, if you keep the load to the perfect verticality, the gradual dissipation of the load can be taken by the particular verticality plumb. So what we did was, it was a model we did for this building. You can see this building after lintel. Till lintel, we went for a cavity wall on both sides with header stretchers only. From lintel, we started taking the wall, taking the bricks outside the periphery of the wall periphery, whereby it went up to, we took up to a solid, solid brick wall, nearly some 15 inches we have taken outside. So you can imagine such a volume of brick. Supported by a small thin you can call it as a lintel beam or something like that. Then again it went to the structurally this load has been transferred through the cavity walls and all. So it has been 19 years now with the same building. So it's standing, and many people have used to come and see this whenever they pass by. It is on the main road in just opposite to Kumaran Theatre in Tanjore. It is. So now there is no, that the theatre is not there. So I feel this have given me a confidence, and this have given confidence on my clients too, on me, confidence on me. If they give any work to me, I'll be to them to I'll be understanding them, and then I'll be convincing them. All these things. So that confidence only made me to thrive in this area. As I already told you, I don't have any relative at that time here. I had only work from them. Then I got from my expanded like that. Sir, what you asked?
I think you try to do something technically possible. I mean, yes, we heard that architect Manoharan sir.
Yeah. Yes.
What we understand is you made a difference in something technically that is impossible to be possible, and then there that you made that as an opportunity so that everybody started having confidence in you. So when it comes to this situation and opportunity, I think I should go and want to ask architect Senthil Kumar.
One small thing I left in that period. We did not have a very good drawing section, drawing office, drawing team. We did not have design. We had a so what we did was we never gave the clients a full elevation or full section. Nothing we gave in those periods. I remember one guy, I gave him he was traveling with me after hearing me. He was talking to me as sir, there is one Tanjore Manoharan. Virtually it happened. I was traveling in the bus, and sitting next to me talked this, and then I said after hearing all these things from him, I told him the Sai Manoharan. He was simply surprised. Then he said, sir, I want to do this. He gave a small ticket. On the back of ticket, I gave a small sketch. We developed the building from that particular sketch, and we completed the building. He was the, later I came to know that he was the judge of this labor court. It was an interesting thing, which it is there in Medical College Road. The same
sounds
building.
Very interesting, Manoharan sir. Thank you so much for sharing that information. We will move on to architect Senthil Kumar. Please brief us about when there's a situation which you changed into an opportunity, and how did it go on?
I think in the initial years, the client took advantage of me, and they converted all my situation into their opportunities. So I didn't have any opportunity to convert any situation like that. But slowly, over a period of time, over a period of time, through your sheer hard work, and then your sincerity, I think everyone knows. Initially, the problem is, I'll tell you the problem. If you don't know about the fee, how much you're going to get and work without the idea about the fee, then whatever work you turn out might not be so good, so convincing. The problem with many of us is we don't talk about the fee first, get the retainer fee, and then start working. If I know, there have been many complaints from many architects saying that, sir, I gave them 4 or 5 options, but I didn't get paid. So so I think one of the one of the main motivating factors is the charges. After all, you're not going to give anything free of cost. So after you talk about the charges, after you finalize it, after you get the work order and you return a fee, and then when you start working, everything will be an opportunity for you. Otherwise, the opportunity will be for the client only. Thank you.
Okay, it's good. Okay, so opportunities initially were taken up by clients and then drifted into your side once you started feeling the business, feeling the practice.
Once
so that's nice. I think we'll hear from our architect. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Sandeep Kumar, you have anything to say?
No. Once when I started fees only, opportunities came back to me.
Wonderful. Okay, once you started asking for fees, the opportunity started coming in. I think that's a very important point. Actually, people normally they feel very shy or very they fall back to ask for the fees. So once you know what is your retainer or what is your thing that you're going to get, then your working is also much more efficient.
Yes.
I think we'll move on to architect Aravindan sir. Okay, when he's talking about architect, the clients taking advantage, the clients making the situations, their opportunities, these kind of things. Normally, we come to know that most of the clients who actually come to you, they never leave you. So basically, when you start having a cordial relationship with the client, how later on you make it into a business, or how actually you make them to be a good paymaster also in time to go. Architect Aravindan, please. Architect Aravindan?
Aravindan has to unmute and speak.
Please unmute.
Yes.
I hope you got it.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Most of the projects, I'm not talking about large-scale projects like what Modi ma'am or Charladan did. What are the projects? There are no project managers. And in most of the projects, it is not only the design inputs which the client wants from us. It is also the overall coordination and completion of the project. We, as a head of in the hierarchy, in the higher level, we are supposed to take care of the whole project coordination and complete it in a cordial way. So the basic thing is to understand the client. First of all, is understanding the client and educating the client, and then involving the client in the project itself, and then building a relationship with them. All these are bigger topics to talk about. I know Acharladan has already told me that educating the client takes a lot of time, definitely, right? So we educating him kind of right from Vastu or whatever it is, educating the clients, and we generally try to involve the client himself in the project itself. So as architects, we are always used to talk about design in the terms like space and transition and hierarchy, but we are supposed to talk in language with the client. We have to talk in this language for him to understand things. I would always think that explaining the whole project to the client and getting him involved in the project and explaining the whole thing will make things more easier. I make it in a very transparent way, just like it's like doing a movie. You can say the client is the producer and me as the director. The whole it's how the movie goes on. It's whether the client wants a commercial movie or an art movie. It depends. So we work with the client, involving himself. It makes things easier and definitely better results.
Yeah, okay. I think here now Aravindan is making opportunities from the clients. Like, he's getting into the client and then talking his language instead of both of them getting educated and so on and so forth. I think that's also a wonderful way of getting into the client. So we were just looking into how that cordial relationship actually make him to pay you. How do you manage that kind of a show?
Better understanding of the client. That's all.
Okay.
You better understand the client, have a good relationship, and involve himself in the design part itself. It's not only the design part which is looking into, okay?
So automatically it invokes him to that, there's a value and then he has to pay you, right?
Definitely. You can create a value, your services, the value of the services, you can definitely embed him, the value within himself.
Okay, so that's good actually. I just met some juniors very recently. They've been doing some work for a businessman for quite some time. And then I just asked them, no, how much fees you did? We have not got anything. But suddenly yesterday they called up and said, because we've been doing so much of work, suddenly he called at this time and said, he himself has told, it's quite a long time, I have to give you something. So I will make a payment next week, something like that. So the value realization is there. Good, sir. Thank you. I think we need to ask architect Ponni Madam. This is the one important thing. We have a lot of women folk, a lot of lady architects also along. Madam, as a lady into practice, boldly come into practice and doing so much of work, what challenges would be there, and how actually you handle them, how you take it? Actually, this is a very nice question. I think you have to give some candid replies also. Just feel free to give any reply, which will actually help our fellow women architects.
You see, being a lady in India and practicing in India is not easy. There's something called social conditioning in our culture. They always say that this is what women should do and this is what men should do. Yes. So men are always perceived as breadwinners, the decision makers, the know-it-alls and everything. And women have a more of a support, role in the whole thing. So first few times, when I approach clients, they would always say, is your husband around, then everything is okay. It was actually very infuriating because I did all the hard work. So, it takes a lot of time to convince clients that, it's your brain work and it's your hard work. And what I've also learned over the years is that, I do due diligence on the clients I want to work with. I've been lucky that way. And also educate them. I also make sure that these are people who understand the value of a woman's work. And lucky for me, I've had great clients who actually have appreciated my work. And there's one more parameter on the whole thing. Skill, capacity, efficiency knows no gender. Once your deliverables are in place, it really doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. And over the years, and I would give a lot of credit to Indian men. They've actually supported me. They've encouraged me. The initial problems of, oh my God, I don't even know if you can even deliver, all vanished. So it is all a question of how hard you work, how disciplined you are, and how much you deliver in a project. And there's one other thing I want to share with all the women, if all of them watching. You have to work 3 times as hard as a man. I went through it. But today, when I see, the cultural scene has changed so much. It's a joy and a pleasure to see so many women coming in to study architecture, coming into, doing projects, and the whole perception of women in architecture has changed so much. There's more faith in women today. And I think that is because the culture of India has also changed a lot. And I would also, again, thank the men for having supported us all the way through. And the other thing that I would advise women today who are taking up this profession, this is not an easy profession, but once it is your joy, it is your passion, you automatically deliver. You deliver the goods and people are there to appreciate it. And case in point is someone like me. So if at all you want to really grow in this field, you have to be focused, you have to be disciplined, you have to be organized. And there's one other thing in India, we have to manage the family and the profession. It's not an easy task to do, but it's a bit of a challenge, but it is very much doable. It's all up to you.
Yeah, that was a wonderful answer and very motivating answer. Very inspiring. Actually, when you said you have to balance your family also, I have one tricky question to you. Let me see how it goes. Say, for example, you have made a wonderful presentation, you've done a lot of work, and then, today evening, you're going to meet a very important client for the new project and things like that. And, so engrossed in the work and things. And evening, when you are starting for the meeting, we just realized that you promised your son, but that because that's his birthday today, you are all going out for dinner. Okay, at this point of time, at this juncture, what would be your mindset? What would you do? Whether you will go for the presentation or you will opt to go with family to enjoy your birthday, your son's birthday dinner?
It's actually happened. It actually happened.
Really?
I can't believe
Okay.
you're actually scripting my life story here.
Okay.
But what happens is, I was in a similar situation, and my work comes first, period.
My God. Okay.
My son knows it. He's a very understanding person right from birth. I was with him for about 3 months, and then my dad took care of, taking care of him because I traveled, I was into work and everything. So from a very young age, my son has realized that mom's work takes priority. And it's how you explain to children. I really missed his birthday party in the sense that I came a lot later. And my son is lucky for me, is a very, very understanding boy. So he said, okay, fine. So it depends on how you give priorities. My work has always come first. I make no bones about it. I wouldn't advise this to every other lady because it's a personal decision to take. If you ask me, I don't have a personal life. I work, and I enjoy it. So it all depends on, every woman's priority.
Okay. Okay. So I think work comes first. That's also one kind of a mantra. Okay, I think when it comes to, just now we talked about the birthday party, I would shoot one question to architect Senthil Kumar. Suppose, I think, you are moving with you have a lot of politicians and bureaucrats as your clients. And maybe, there's a lot of socializing also happens. But how actually you convert the socializing or whatever it is into a prospective project or a prospective business proposition?
I think this needs time to think and answer. But anyhow, since the time is limited, I'll just answer spontaneously whatever comes to my mind. Is my voice audible?
Yes, very much.
Okay. The thing is, first of all, you have to take care of the health of your client. That is the most important thing. Even when you go to, when you take your client, or when the client takes you to the bar or evening somewhere, you should first tell the client that you have the tablet 0.40 or 0.20. That is because otherwise it will cause gastritis for you. So you should show interest in the client's health first. Then while in the bar also, you should tell him, have cheese with pineapple first. It will form a coating. And then even salads also, you should tell, have cucumber. Cucumber will eradicate all the free radicals in the body. Client will feel happy that you are interested in this. So always, even when the client comes to your office also, don't give him coffee and tea. I'm telling for everyone,
Okay.
Give him buttermilk. Buttermilk is very good. Even in the oven, they sell it in packets plus also tetra packet. Don't buy the plastic cover and give it to the client. You buy it in tetra packets and serve it. You should tell the client that like buttermilk is very good for health and it removes all the cholesterol in the body and can give him dry fruits. So like the hospitality has to be really good, and you should give something to eat to the client first when it comes to office. I think everyone should have should make a note of it. You can have fridge also. Give him cucumber, give him a buttermilk. Good, even the dry nuts and species, whatever is good for the client. If you show that you are interested in the client's health, then automatically things will fall in place. I think this is one of the most important advice I like to give to the young architects. First of all, you should try to serve something to the client in your office.
Yeah, that's okay, right, sir. That's right. I think this way you are actually making a prospect out of your outing. But there's a small second part to the question. How do you actually ensure those politicians or those kind of different level clients also good pay masters? Do they pay well? How do those kind of clients behave?
In fact, these politicians and the other bureaucrats and other process, we have a lot of advantages. For example, I did a house for a DIG of police during 2002. He didn't pay me any fees, but then he told me, Senthil, there's a piece of land at Manapakam at the police officers colony. If you're interested, you can buy it. So, then I, with all the LIC policies and that, I got the land, which has made more money than all my earnings throughout my career. The multiplication of the land was much more than all my earnings throughout my career. So, like that, you have a lot of advantages when you do projects for the, but of course they pay you. It's not that they're not paying you. But then, you just like get it from them as and when they give. But some of them are really good. Some of them, they are good paymasters. And but it's always advantageous to work with them. But the youngsters should be careful about working for the cinema stars and for the politicians. They should, they should make sure that they don't lose anything from their hand, because they say that when you do a project, nearly 2/3 you are spending from your hand. It's only 1/3 profit you are getting from the client. So if you don't talk about even for politicians or anyone, if you don't finalize the fees and work, nearly 2/3 of the amount you are shelling out from your hand, which you are getting from the parents or whatever it is. So all the youngsters should make a note of it, that if you it is only 1/3 money you take home. Even that also nowadays is not coming. So if you do anything free of cost, 2/3 you are losing.
Okay, that's a wonderful piece of advice. Very good piece of advice, and very good point that your personal note you shared. We are overwhelmed with that. At this point, I think I should ask Architect Cherla then. When you catch up with a new client, okay, how would you make out if the new client would be worthwhile?
See, actually, I always refer our profession with medical, that is doctors. Client comes with a problem. First, we need to diagnose them. Then we have to tell them, this is what your problem, this is how it goes. You cannot really expect a patient come, okay, he is going to pay, he's a substance for 1 lakh rupee, 2 lakh rupee, like that. So why I'm saying this, they are really blind men looking like an elephant, where they don't really see elephant. So you have to tell them this is what the elephant is. If you connect both, in many ways, you explain them in terms of what is the problem, how you connect everything and make that problem into solution, how that solution becomes a product, how the product get evolved, and then what is your process. See, the fee, according to me, it is not a first point, because the product is the solution. Fee is the byproduct. So when you make your successful product in terms of explanation and giving a solution to them, automatically the byproduct happens next. Like what other people, like when Aravind was telling, once you explain, establish a rapport with the client, because client has to pay. See, obviously, when a client comes to an office, he knows that it has to be paid. So my experience is, whenever I meet a client, try to understand. I don't explain anything in terms of what is the solution. Travel with them for at least a couple of meetings, then understand their problem and giving a correct solution, because the solution ultimately comes only from you. From the solution, whether he can erase something or add something. So first product, what you're telling, that should be ultimate solution to him. Then you are winning that entire thing and taking the next level. And when we take to the next level, you should really explain what is your services are, because he may not know what you provide. It is your professional service you're going to explain to him. What is your professional services you're going to render? What is the different stages? How the stages come is in terms of getting in reality, in terms of building design, approval, getting into site, then finishing the product. In various stages, how your fee structure is going to be, what is the team is consisting of. After all, a building, you visualize, but many people be part with you to see that in reality. Make everybody be part of your team. Make your client also understand there's a team which makes the building in reality. So once this process has been properly defined, then become a successful product. I always say getting a project is not a great thing. Finishing a project is a great thing, because all our experience, a big scale project, it never finishes in the shortest time. It takes more of documentation, following it up. Today, approval process takes so much of energy. It's not only one department, so many departments. Then finish everything probably by the time you start your approval process. End of the approval process may take 2 years or 3 years also sometime. Connect everything. have a proper documentation. This establishes a clear professionalism where client understands what is the service you're rendering. That makes you very simple that when you send this is what the fee, they'll pay for it. I think am I answered to you, Logu? Did I answer your question?
I think we had some little bit more takeaways also in this particular answer. I was about to ask you the moment, the first when you see a client, how actually you will assess that he's going to be worth it. That was the thing we wanted to really capture, because we don't have to spend a waste of time, unnecessary time into this thing with the client. So it is coming from another kind of query, like if you are referred to a new client by someone, what would be the kind of mindset that you will have when you first meet the new client, and how would you prepare yourself to make sure you clinch the client or the project? This was the next thing that was trying to come up. So only thing is how you assess the person who's actually coming as a client.
See, in architectural profession, compared to other professions, we meet only successful people. Unlike like doctors, lawyers, and auditors, you come with pain, you come with sickness, you come with problems. But here, they come with prosperity. So that is a wonderful opportunity in architectural profession. You see a person who has been successful. So when they come with a certain amount of projects, definitely they don't want to waste your time or their time. See, when you reach particular level, you can really assess when you talk itself and explain this is what it is. Often I meet people, if I take a mall, they will have at least done some dozen amount of homework and meet me. When they meet, the first thing is to make a mock, on mall, why I'm referring mall is, it is what I'm meeting people and need to explain in different ways how the malls is getting built. The first thing is I have to tell them what is the project is going to cost him. Because you have to tell the project cost in first meeting itself, then you made it, whether the person is going to make it or drop it. Because many people would have advised him, like I was telling about blind man and elephant, it is a fact in every stage. When we tell mall, total ball is going to cost X amount of rupees, then we'll know whether I am capable of making it or not. The first meeting itself will be over, yes or no. If I come to other projects like a mall, hospital or hotel or whatever, they are seasoned people. They don't come here to make a business. They want to build with a previous experience, or already they would have done with some consultant what will be the process, then meet me. So when you have particular amount of the work experience, you really don't have much of trouble in getting a right people. And many times you need to put your points very clearly, how this process goes on. With your experience, you tell how the projects are conceived. So if I take a project, what is the rules and regulation? What is going to be possible to build there? What is the business model is possible? How the total building can come up? What is the project cost? When I meet, this will be explained to him in first shot itself. So this becomes simple for me to take to the next level. Whether he is on or not, defined there in first meeting itself. If he comes for next meeting, then goes to complete design, and almost our projects 80 to 90% happens like that. So what I'm trying to say, it's a clarity in detail. When you meet in first time, explain and make him understand this is what the project is, and make him aware of that the project is going to be travel like this. What is your role in it and what is his role in it? Then it goes with that.
Okay, you make him aware of your mastermind and then clinch him. That is a kind of thing. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I'll ask Aravindan. Since Aravindan is coming from Coimbatore, not the place from Chennai. See, there's one this is a very critical thing, Aravindan sir. Our fraternity, particularly the young ones, those who are in the next level, they have a very difficult fear nowadays. Are civil engineers real threat to our consultancy, our practice, and our business? Please be a bit elaborate also, because we want to really find out what's the situation, what's the scenario. are civil engineers really a threat for us, or what is that? Please unmute. Ravi.
Yeah, I've done. Definitely not architect Loganathan. We have different roles to play. The civil engineer has a role to play in the building industry, and we have a different role to play. Our role cannot be taken by them, and it is definitely it is our duty to expand our services. We can't restrict yourself to partial services. It is our duty to expand our services to the most possible limit to the client. Explain your possibilities wherever you can give your inputs and complete the project. Civil engineer coming as a competition to us is definitely not acceptable at all. Definitely not.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That was a very short answer. So I think I will ask the same question to architect Manoharan also, because so that he's also not from Chennai. I just want to find out what is the thing happening across the state. So please let us know, are civil engineers really a threat? I mean, Aravindan had his say. So can you just unmute and talk, architect Manoharan?
Sure. Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. You see, never it is not, because the as architect Aravindan has told, it is the clarity of the domain of architecture and civil is very clear. But only the civil engineers are what you call, they are not understanding it. But as an architect, I take this opportunity to tell all architects, wherever there is a what you call talk like this, you can directly say architecture is art, science and humanities. And if you go to a civil engineer, he will be having science. He will be having science that's even physics. Engineering is only physics, and architecture is art, science and humanities. So even in our COA, you can take this also, sir, from me. Even in COA, where they have clearly mentioned in comprehensive services, the duties of an architect is to build according to the environs. You can even now, you can check it in the COA website. The word environs is very clearly mentioned. So this environs cannot be designed, is not taught in civil engineering or any other field. So my idea is that I want to share this opinion to all of you, and this is my perception, and this is what I have learned from reading all these things and comparing all these two professions. Is my answer is okay?
Yeah, wonderful. You just brought up this art and science factor and
the humanities. I'm talking about humanities.
Humanities factor.
What civil engineers are saying is that you are only artists, techno artists. No, it is not like that. Techno artists and humanities is there. That's why we are designing from whole to part, part to whole. Part and whole differs in various areas. That's the major difference. These things are not at all known by any civil engineer.
Wonderful, wonderfully said, Manohar sir. I think now I have one question to architect Ponni madam. Then there's one question to architect Senthil Kumar, and there's one common question for all of you. I think with this, the program might be over, because we have been talking to more than about 75 minutes now. The time has just flown very fast like this because of this topic. Architect Ponni madam, this is the thing, like, should architects have a limitation on their project, like, to deliver a certain value? Should there be a limitation? Do you normally keep a limitation? No, I will take only this kind of a project, something like that. What is that? How do you? Please unmute your mic. Please unmute your mic. Yeah, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
Are we okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. From the beginning of our practice, and I'm talking about a 25-year practice, we don't have any limit.
Okay.
What we look at is whether we are comfortable with the client, because I'm going to answer some other related questions. We do due diligence on our client. We just don't accept a client just like that. We see if we are comfortable working with him. If he or she is a good paymaster, we do all the due diligence and then zero in on the client. And to me, I'm telling you, we're doing a 12 lakh square feet project now, and we're doing a 1,000 square feet project. So I don't have any limit at all. I've reached a stage where I think it's important to build good relationships with people and deliver quality products, quality projects. It doesn't matter about the scale, because sometimes when you do a small project, that can convert to a much larger project. It's happened to us. I've done a tiny guest house and then we ended up doing a whole campus. So in my book, in my mind, I don't even look at limitations at all. I think it's an opportunity you get to prove yourself, and you can convert that opportunity into a much, much bigger opportunity. I mean, if you're a shrewd business person, like I said, you do your due diligence, you look at your client and say, okay, what is the potential of this client? What's the kind of projects he's done? He's given you a little opportunity. Maybe that can be converted to a much larger opportunity. And we've been very successful with this model.
Wonderful. Actually, a simple connect, you are actually making it to grow.
Yeah.
So that's really very well said. Actually, fine. Architect Senthil Kumar, I think okay. Now that Madam has told that a simple project also might bring up big work. Can I ask you, how do you think our clients come to us again? What do you think will make our clients to come to us again? You can also, you can give some example from your own practice also.
Normally as architects, we don't advertise in papers, we don't advertise in any media or something like that. It is only through our own projects the client come back to you. I think for all of us, for all the panelists, the same thing only. For example, for architect Aravindan, Lakshmi Ceramics will go to him only. Even if I do whatever I try to do with owner, he will never come to me. He will go to Aravindan only. So that is because he likes Aravindan. He likes Aravindan.
How many times you take Lakshmi Ceramics owner to the restaurant? I mean your happy hours?
No.
Not at all. Rarely.
So he's going to Aravindan only again. Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, he likes the services what Aravindan provides on time. And there is a frequency. The frequency has to match between the client and then the architect. If that happens, then the client will never leave you. A lot of instances are there. That will come only through your sheer hard work, your interaction with him. You should become like a family member. You should become even after the project is over, you should be in touch with him. Normally, people send New Year greetings, or they wish him on his wedding anniversary, or they wish him, and nowadays the media is there. You wish the client on his birthday, or the client wishes you on your wedding anniversary. Like these sort of social interactions are very much not because of business, purely not because of business. Like you like him and he likes you. Like these sort of social connections are a must in the society. Like for example, like C.R. Raju, he had his he had his 60th birthday. I think we are attended. He called all his clients, all the old clients, to the hotel, and we had a great get together. And everyone spoke about C.R. Raju. Like that, you should have a lot of family functions and get-togethers with the clients, which will keep them with you. And this is a thing which we had to learn and develop the fellowship with the clients and other. But nothing without hard work. With the hard work, you have to. The hard work only can convince the client, and it's like from 92 onwards, I have been maintaining clients who again and again keep coming to me. Only if I'm not able to get the approval, then again he'll go to some other person to get the approval and again come back to me. But now it's not possible because the architect has to sign the approvals. So we have more power now. So we have to get the approvals. Thank you, Lavana.
Okay, thank you. So you take care of your clients. So they keep coming back to you, and then they take care of you. Okay, I think we have almost come to end of our discussion. I have noted down there have been quite a good number of takeaways, which maybe later on I will just go through as a glimpse. But now I want to ask this one question to all of you. Probably I'll start with first. I'll keep the lady's note for a while. Maybe she will come second or third. I'll start off with Aravindan. What is your secret mantra? Tell tell about at least 4 of your secret mantras in your practice.
Don't cut short your services. Don't do partial services. Prove the value to the client. Take control of the project. It will definitely fetch you good products.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Design, as I said, design input is just one part of it. It is the most important part, even though it is just one part of it. But you go through the whole process, involve the client, and get the project completed. That's a success story. That makes me successful, I guess.
Okay. Thank you, Architect Aravindan. And Architect Manoharan, what
Sir,
is your
nice, sir.
secret mantra? Give us 4 points that you feel that is your
yeah.
secret mantra.
Yeah, again. I'll tell you. First, we have to understand the client. For understanding the client, you should have you should understand the belief system of the client, and then you should understand the memory associated with the client's why he is coming to build a house or anything, whatever, big or small, or even a school building, anything. So there will be some belief system with him, and there will be some memory. This he would have carried to you, and you should understand that, and you should first understand that, and you have to give a what you call initial what you call schemes and all that should be that the client should accept it. From that period, if the client understands that you are into his what you call psychological thing of this design, he'll be happy to move forward. Next is you have to be patient to 2 or 3 times you have to meet him, and you have to understand his personal what you call the likes and dislikes, and then need not go for pseudo prestige and false prestige. And the thing is that you should make yourself indispensable by not what you call avoiding to go to site. You try to go to site whenever possible, even though it is not a scheduled thing. I think I used to do that. And finally, societal intrusion. I think societal intrusion means what I mean to say is that you intrude into, as architects, we are not so much into as architects, we are not so much into the society. That's the reason why architects are not known just like a lawyer or a medical practitioner or a chartered accountant. So we architects should make the society to understand there is a what you call field or profession like architecture is there. The buildings and build spaces are to be done by them. So that understanding the society has to come. For that, as architects, we should work forward. That is my view, sir.
Oh, wonderful. I think you mark your presence to the society.
Sir, one more thing, sir. Never, ever accept a client who blames another architect. This is my... many clients have come to me blaming some other architects.
More ethical, actually. Okay.
Yeah, those. Okay. Yeah. Another thing is that there are 2 things. One is profession and occupation. As an architect, as a budding architect, you should do it as a profession. You should not do it as an occupation. There is you just I think I don't need to explain more about this. Do it as a profession with ethics, and don't do it as an occupation. That's my view.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we hear from you, Architect Ponni Madam, about your secret mantra? You can be candid. You can give your ideas. Next, I will go to Chairladan. After that, we will conclude with our Architect Senthil Kumar's notes. Yes, Architect Ponni Madam.
Okay, I think on the top of it all, you have to work with a passion. You really have to work with a passion. When you work with a passion, you bring out the best in you, and you develop a quality product that is appreciated by the client and the public at large. So you got to work with a passion. You have to work very hard. You have not just be a hard worker, you have to be a smart worker. In today's world, it's very important to be a smart worker. Now, the third point is that you have to be on the cutting edge of technology all the time. You have to move ahead with the times. because as you know, change is the order of the universe. What happened 25 years ago is no longer valid today. So you got to move with the times. You got to be more in touch with technology. And third thing is that you have to be a good business person. You're not working for free. So you have to create a relationship with the client in such a way and work hard and deliver so well that, you know, with the constant reminders of payments, he himself volunteers to give it to you. So I think being a good business person is something that is very, very critical. And I wish, I'm also a little bit into architectural education. I'm going to use this opportunity to request, you know, educational institution to teach a little bit of MBA to our undergraduate students. We oftentimes come as these very utopian people willing to change the world and everything, but there's a price tag to it all. And the business aspect of architecture is very, very important to survive in the long run. Those are my mantras.
Wonderful, madam. Wonderful. Actually, that's why initially I started telling, no, we are good artisans, but no businessmen. Your point of that, no, introducing MBA into a course is a very important thing. Now, thank you so much for that intriguing, nice reply. Architect Cherlathan sir, can we hear from you? What is your 4 secret mantras? Please unmute. Yeah.
Yeah. See, first is the time. See, everything has time. Like your commitments comes with delivery time, sense of time, and for what time you work. See, architecture always influenced by the time you design. If I design one building today, what I designed 5 years before could have been different. So that time, what I design, give your fullest, honest effort on that. That is one. Second thing is establish a proper professionalism with a commitment. See, when you travel with client, you establish how you define your character with professionalism, called how you can have architectural solutions and establish a character through that. And all this comes with the human touch. You should establish a rapport where your sense of ownership on a project, sense of commitment to a project, validation to a project comes with the human touch. It is for them we are working. Then see, when you start a design to finish, establish a proper system. Right from design approach, documentation, sending a letter, minutes of meeting making, and giving it to different consultants, getting their inputs, making a proper building. As architect Manor was telling and Aravind was sharing, see, that building is being defined by architect, but being built by different engineers. So without their effort, with your knowledge inputs, building never get into reality. So the team from day one, start getting interaction with them, give a correct solution. Then make your product means money and means value addition for the person who possesses it. It is not only architectural beauty boarded, it should function rightly. So that's how I look at it. I like to give a perfect solution to the person who comes with a problem. Maybe a spatial problem, maybe an aesthetic problem, maybe a financial problem. So gives a solution through your architectural mind. That is my practical, that's what I've been doing it throughout my career. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, really wonderful. You understand the
right.
problem, then you give the solution. You actually, that's a wonderful thing. And you give value to the time. That's what is the important point that you, and also the connect.
It's
and,
like a Sholay movie, no? Every time you cannot make a Sholay movie, but you try to put an effort for making a Sholay movie. Sholay movie is a wonderful chemistry. That's what people say. What Aravind was telling is a director and a producer. So every time you may not get a right director, right movie producer, but try to create that.
Yeah, we have, stories, no, that Sholay movie was running for 5 years in theaters.
Yeah.
So anyway, now I think it's time we hear for the same question, Architect Senthil Kumar sir. What are the 4 secret mantras you adopt?
I think you are coming last to me, and everyone has mantras, but still, whatever little mantra left over, I will touch the mantra. Cherlathan sir, you said that in the first meeting, you will tell the client about the project cost, and you will wait whether the client is coming for the next meeting. The client comes to proceed. Same thing I had done. In the first meeting, I told about the project cost. Then the client went and he came back. Second meeting, I told about my fees. The client never turned back. So, I think in the first meeting itself, it is better to tell about the project cost. There's also your fees also. And then wait whether the client comes back. So, that is the first mantra what I like.
So I think Loganathan got it now. Actually, Global, that is what I like that chapter.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
then the second thing is, don't show the, no, I'm telling about the small clients who come to your office. You buy an LED projector. I'm telling this because I learned this from my auditor. Previously, when I used to go to the auditor office, we used to show some sheets in which we cannot interact at all. And I used to wonder why he's charging 50,000 rupees just for computing. Now they have an LED projector. They project your accounts in the screen and then they make you to interact. So this is this thing. This is the fees. This is the cash you received from Loganathan. Is this accountant or unaccounted? He'll ask me. Then I'll interact. And then they'll change. The other person will be typing in the laptop and he will change. So you interact with the auditor. Same thing now. What I'm following is I got an LED projector. Then I don't show the A4 or A3 size sheets to him. He comes with his family. I make them sit in the conference room. I show them the project. Then one of my architect will be there with the laptop. We make some changes. Then the wife tells some inputs. The kids, the son or daughter will give some inputs. So like that, that interaction happens between the client, then the architect and your office, which I feel is very important. And sometimes even the SketchUp also. The SketchUp views also, when they want to see, I allow them to my studio. They come and the husband and wife will come to my studio. They'll make, they get involved in the project. That is one of the, they keep coming to you again and again. The third thing is the selection of materials. I don't know how Charan will have time to go with the client. He will take them to China. But I don't have clients who take me to China. They take me to Paris corner to see the EWC shops and WC shops. But of late, I'm telling Aravindan's name and going to Lakshmi Ceramics. I'm giving them, you have to spend time to the client, which is really important. He's selecting the tiles, he's selecting the color, he's selecting everything. Once when the client knows that, then after everything, the client will take you to dinner. You take, and he'll come and drop you in your house. And always make sure that you go with the client. Don't allow the client to go in one car and you don't follow another car. Because you go in the client's car where you talk a lot of things, where you have, apart from architecture, there are a lot of things to be discussed between you and the client. These are socializing things which are really important to develop your profession. Once when the client knows that you are devoting time for him and you are interested in the welfare, then there is no end to your success. Thank you, Loganathan.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Really, lady and all the
Fantastic,
gentlemen. You have given very good, very neat, very nice points out of your own experience and things like that. You won't believe I have written 3 pages of those points here. I just quickly go as a glimpse so that it's for the benefit of everybody and all of us. Also, if you want to reinforce anything, these are just the basic points. Competition. Participating in competitions, ask for fees in the first instance. Look for impossible things to make it possible. Give more value. Give different solutions. Make it holistic. Understand the client. Understand the client language. What comes first? Then take care of the client's health. Make the connect to the product to the client, and expand the services from partial to comprehensive. No limitation to projects. Match frequency with the client. Promptness in work. Take control of the project. Understand belief system of the client. Make yourself indispensable. Mark your presence to the society. Be ethical, and understand profession and occupation. Profession versus occupation. Be passionate. Work hard and smart. Update to the cutting edge technology, like the LCD LED projector that architect Ponni Madam also she told in the first instance. And be a good business person. and keep reminding about the payments, and have the sense of time. Establish that you are very systematic, understand the problem, show how you work, just give a glimpse of how you are working to the client and his family. See, so much of points that have come up. So I think these are certainly ways that will pave for a successful practice. So it has been a very intriguing and wonderful session, and it was very lively. We have just, almost 1.5 hours we've been talking, and thank you so much, the lady and all the gentlemen. And I think all the participants who have been here for so much of time and spending their valuable time with us. And I thank all of you panelists for accepting this invitation and spending your valuable time with us. And on behalf of Indian Institute of Architects Tamil Nadu chapter, I thank one and all who are associated in this webinar. I thank architect Anthony Morris for making the graphics, and I thank architect Yuvraj for being the technical coordinator here. And Yuvraj, please, you take over and conclude. Before that, panelists, do you have any last say? Anybody wants to say anything? We are ready to. We are all yes, yours. Yes, yes.
Say something.
Please.
I think architecture is a wonderful profession. It's a synergy of various disciplines. It's so creative. It's fantastic, and I would say that I wish more and more women join the profession and work along with men. Don't walk in front. Don't walk behind. Walk along with men. And there is so much women can contribute to this field. Is all I want to say. And hip hip hooray to architecture.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, Logo, I just want to keep one point to the forum.
Yes.
See,
please.
today in modern world, architecture has become global practice. It is not going to be like one single person managing the firms. It's become multiple fold organizations become participant to the building making. So engineering side, architectural side, we are not in the time frame of 1970s what we started our practice. Like today, it is in different kind of form, like with WhatsApp, with whatever communication system we have. I think we need to relook at architectural practice with the current trend and current building requirements and kind of building typologies. We need to really give a path to the next generation, how architectural practice is all about with a new format of practice. Let us not look at what we saw, what it is going to be. If we look at 15 years before, or probably the time what I graduated from college, there is no computer. And today, you see so much of forms in mobile. Today you are connected and you are talking. Communication has become so important in our professional practice. So in architectural form also, we have different forms in terms of practices come up. So much of specialization. It is not only architectural building industry related, product design, and you are into communication, you are into making graphics, you are into only for getting approval, getting environmental planning. So how we are going to make a strong portfolio defined with architecture as a starting point, how it can merge into different kind of portfolios, become much bigger canvas. So I think we need to put forward for the next generation to take it up. Am I clear? Instead of talking about one single practice, what Chela now states is doing, we should make into different forum. See, engineers already started taking up big master plans, big industrial township. It is not architectural projects. It has become engineering projects. So though we have a lot of say into it, but we need to put really an effort to make combined effort where architect become a starting point of all this. Otherwise, it become an engineering product rather than an architectural project.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for sharing that very important bit of information. And I think it was wonderful having you all this evening. And thank you so much. Vanakkam.
Thank you.
Please,
thank you.
Vanakkam.
Thanks for
Yuvraj.
great
Thank you.
connected Logo. Thanks for
Yeah, thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Yuvraj,
Thank you all.
Yuvraj, you
Thank
take care and
for
close it.
the
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
We thank all the participants of the webinar for coming over and also hearing to all the wonderful architects who have actually shared their experience. And hopefully there will be very important key takeaways from this particular session. So we from IAA Tamil Nadu chapter would be coming up with a few more sessions during this lockdown period. So stay connected, stay safe, stay home. This is Architect Yuvraj signing on behalf of IAA Tamil Nadu chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye. Take care all.
Yeah, thank you.